Is it hard to come back from a retreat weekend like we just had and kind of like right back into the grind?
If I had employees, it would be.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's just me, like I can take my time tomorrow morning and like collect my thoughts and sort of go at whatever pace I want. So no, not really.
Yeah.
But if I had to be thinking about like what guy A and guy B are going to be doing and what tools and materials they need, do they have the skill and experience to do the task I'm going to be asking them to do? Like that just adds a lot more complexity and more things I need to think about. And then like the added variable of what kind of a mood is guy A or guy B going to be in tomorrow morning? And is he going to be able to perform the tasks or not? And does he have any life crisis going on at the moment that I need to be thinking about? Like,
I remember the stories from previous partner X.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was fun. I know for me, coming back from a retreat weekend like that, it's always a bit of a mental kind of like gear find that takes a few hours or a half day.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine like going right back into family life. Like, all right, now there's 4 other humans I got to worry about in this house, not just me. Can't just go away and hide for 3 hours and kind of decompress and settle in. It's like you're immediately back on dad and husband mode.
Yeah. And I think that's something I'm kind of used to at this point, this idea of like you kind of always need to be on. And what that means, at least for me, is I can't really check out. And so like I'll have the time that I drive home to I'll have that time to myself.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm at home, like when I actually get back to the house, I have to be on, like relationally, emotionally. I have to be checked in, and like kids are going to want to interact with me. They're going to be super high energy. They're going to be excited to see me.
Yeah.
My wife's going to want to hear about how it went.
Yeah.
And so when I get home, I can't just sort of like go and hide upstairs and like do whatever I want. Like I have to engage that.
Yeah.
But I'm used to that, and I'm like, I look forward to that. So I don't consider that like a burden.
Yeah. But it takes some training.
Yeah. I think, and with most things, like vocationally, I think you grow into them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. And I think a lot of people have some level of anxiety about it because they feel like in the current moment, I'm not ready to do that. But that's not really the point. Like the point is like as the demand grows, so do you. Your capacity grows as things are demanded of you. And so, I mean, there's grace and there's sort of a building effect.
Yeah. I don't want to steal all our thunder from later on when I wanted to get into this more, but you're the guy that taught me how to conceptualize sequentially digging into your own margin to push it. It's like, I think it was one of the first nights that we were getting dinner after a work day on South Ohio Avenue during the house flip or the first rental renovation. And I think you used like a salt and pepper shaker on a table to indicate like, you can push this far. Mm-hmm. But what if you come back to rest and then next time push this +1 far? Mm-hmm. And then you can just continue that process pretty much indefinitely. Mm-hmm. Growth mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of the quote unquote like walls that we have where like you run up against a wall, maybe that's like physical exhaustion or sort of like the extent that you can output mentally, and you sort of train yourself to think like, well, this is my stopping point. And I was blessed enough to have some experiences where kind of against my will, I was sort of forced to like push against that wall. And then I found out when you're pushing against it, it kind of starts to move. And if you keep pushing against it, the wall will just sort of like reestablish itself farther and farther down the line. And then you'll get to a point where you look back and realize like the old location of the wall is now like somewhere that I can operate with relative ease. And there's just a lot of things that I'm able to do that I didn't think I could, but someone sort of had to show me. And it just opened up a lot more opportunities. And it's also like there's a sense of freedom that comes with that when you realize like, oh, like if I push up against the wall, like I can actually grow my capacity and I'm able to do more things that I want to do. And I don't have to kind of live in this little box that I had created for myself.
I could see how the Marines would definitely teach you that. Mm-hmm. And then you just kind of applied it to everything. Mm-hmm. And I'm also really glad that you have the integration of the Holy Spirit to keep your heart soft within that process, because it makes total sense that if a Marine is given that, he's just like, well, now I'm effing untouchable. Like, no one can do anything to me ever, because I just figured out the secret to unlimited effort and unlimited success.
Yeah, but then you get humbled and you come back to earth.
Yeah. Is there kind of a crash point when like 20-year guys leave the service?
I think it's different depending on who it is, but yeah, sometimes what ends up happening for a lot of guys is like the Marine Corps or like the community of whatever unit they're in sort of becomes their whole world. And the crash point comes when they leave and there's nothing else that they can like relate to, or they don't feel like things really hold value in the same way, and they lose the relationships, and then there's kind of a crash out. But for the guys that figure out how to like reintegrate and understand their identity differently, like they'll have success outside. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of hit or miss with that.
Yeah, seems to be. We can touch back on that a little bit later, but I just want to kind of establish like that's who you are. That kind of intensity and directness and purpose is how you approach everything. And so for context, we just got back from the second young adult Columbus arena retreat, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. But we're both a little bit monotone right now because of how awesome it was, both running on 2 nights of retreat sleep. Mm-hmm. So here's what I saw, and I'd love to hear what you saw from this past weekend. Mm-hmm. What I saw was, I'll start with in myself. It was difficult to get out of my own way and relax and enjoy the weekend, just because I was trying to it was a control thing, which ironically is what we talked about a lot in the content of the weekend, but trying to control an outcome, trying to force an outcome, trying to like, oh, I so desperately want this to be good for all the guys. Oh, please, I want all the talks to go well. And then it wasn't until Saturday night or even this morning that I was able to realize like, oh, very little of what I did actually changed or could have changed the outcome for good or bad once it was rolling. Mm-hmm. And I was here's what I really appreciated. I was surrounded by a group of men, a band of brothers who helped me co-run the retreat, like you, like Danny, like Tim. Like if Tim had seen something going wrong, he would have known to step in and just make it better. Brad, obviously Dan, Father Joseph, like every dude that was there was high capacity enough and high integrity enough, Cody, another great one, to just see a problem and then bring it to me and say, hey, I think there's an issue. Can we fix this? Can we do it this way? Yes. It was always an easy yes, because everything that was brought to me as a suggestion was a value add. So the A-level team I was with allowed things to go much smoother than they would have if it had all been on my shoulders. Mm-hmm. And, Colin Burke, another great example, just worship leader throughout the weekend. Like, hey, I think we should tweak this. I think we should do this. And he was right. Like every suggestion he had was right. And same with Danny. Like, I think we should do honorings after Mass. Like, perfect idea.
Yep.
Perfect tone set. Stuff I never would have considered. And the irony is, the more I fixate on trying to control an outcome, the less creative I actually become. Like, the more desperate I am to just like get through it and not have any downside. But I leave so much of the upside like sitting untapped in that mindset. I know that's not how your brain operates. We've talked about this in the past. Mm-hmm. Like when I get stressed, I kind of like lock in.
Yep.
And then it tunnels me down. And the temptation, I've tried to operate in a way in the past several years, ever since you taught me that capacity extension trick or mindset, I've tried to carve into it. And it's a slow process because of a tendency to kind of anxious, like turn inward, which is something I actually took to confession last night, and it was super awesome. That the advice I got was, in addition to your penance, I advise you, next time you sense that inward turn, look for a way to practice magnanimity instead, which is beautiful because that was Packer's favorite word, the great spiritedness. Like the great souledness of a man, his greatness of soul is his capacity to sacrificially turn outwards and to give give more than his capacity. So it ties in with what you said. And then I just like re-demonstrated the formula to myself over the weekend accidentally. Ironically, as the weekend's topics were about that sort of, it was all very meta for me. But when I was able to step away from that, what I saw was a group of 45 dudes, many of whom knew each other well, some of whom did not, and the environment did the work. Like there was a very cool ease in Friday night of just pure socialization, and that everyone showed up super well for Saturday's like big push content. And so by this morning, you could tell that there was a real bond. And you called that out as you dismissed us, that there was a real bond that had formed as these men had gone through kind of an in-the-fire moment together. Can you talk a little bit to how you experienced the weekend and what you saw?
Yeah, so I think similar to how you have things that you're trying to control and different like anxieties kind of coming into the weekend, I think for me, the thing I was sort of fixated on was my content responsibility. Mm-hmm. So being like I just had the first talk that I was going to be giving. And so I tend to be kind of in my own head about how have I prepared? How have I ordered the things I'm going to say? Is it going to make sense? Is it going to land? Like, what do I need to change? Like, is my delivery going to am I going to be able to deliver it in a way people can understand and relate to? Are the stories that I'm going to use to like supplement the content are they going to tie in well or not? And so I just kind of get in my head about a lot of that. And my experience time and time again in whatever kind of like limited speaking I've done is that I almost never feel good about it up until like literally it starts. And like I have all these doubts about it, and I'm just kind of like second guessing things and still trying to tweak things in my notes, like right up until I'm like standing there giving the talk. And basically every time like the Holy Spirit shows up and like fills in the gaps.
Yeah.
And I'm just so convinced that like anytime I've like given a talk that has gone well, it's not because of me. And like the prep I did, like I don't think reflects like usually like I think usually they go decently well, and I don't think it's because I did such a good job prepping or because I'm a great.
Prepare well. You prepare thoroughly and well for each talk. That's consistent. I've seen that. Unless you're just bluffing.
There's maybe a little bit of fake it till you make it going on, but yeah. So I think that very much so happened like this weekend as well, where I felt like a lot of the things and a lot of like kind of the ideas that I had like in the moment were not like in my notes, and like I sort of just went with it. And those are the moments where I think like God is sort of like giving me that extra push, you know? And so I'm really grateful for that. And I think some of that just has to do with like openness and like just asking for it. It's like, all right, like I can't do it.
Yeah. Like
you're going to have to do it, Lord. And so, yeah, I'm always really encouraged by that.
It was hugely encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell as you gave your own talk that the first few minutes you were kind of finding your way into it,
mm-hmm.
which is totally normal. And I do the same thing. Only savants like Brad can just like 0 second, like, and now we're at full strength. But there was this moment, like 5-ish minutes in, when your energy shifted and you started to kind of expand into the topic. And it was like, there he is, he found it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just carried that through the rest of the talk. And that was awesome. And the same thing I noticed as you emceed the weekend, which thank you again for that. I know that was a huge sacrifice. But the same thing of kind of like getting into the groove together. And you almost synchronize to your audience.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in front of the same dudes for 36 hours, like 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
So by time 10, you're like, this is my tribe. This is my group. These guys know me. They want me to do well. I want them to enjoy this. We should both show up with faith that this is going to go well.
Yeah.
And trust. And they come in relaxed. Because fresh speaker, fresh audience, you come in tense like, is someone going to throw a tomato? Is this going to be weird? But then that's the synchronization I felt throughout the weekend, was we're kind of becoming way more comfortable with each other
mm-hmm.
than we would have been without that kind of bonding experience.
Yep.
Can you talk to maybe 1 or 2 times that stand out in your memory that you had that in the Marines? because I know that you're full of stories about how you had that same kind of intense brotherhood towards a worldly mission, but something important, and what that kind of unlocked in you and trained in you over the, I don't know, when was that,
2010 to 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were fresh out of high school, man.
Yep. Yeah, I think if I was going to boil it down, the way that I understand that is men, like when you put men in an environment together and you introduce some kind of like challenge or some kind of suffering that they have to endure together, that creates unbreakable bonds with men. And so, I mean, I experienced that in a number of different settings in the Marine Corps, but it was something that I saw it with enough repetition to catch the pattern and realize like this is really powerful. And this is something that I think is underutilized in like Christian and Catholic circles. And so we're in the arena and in some of these different ministries, I think now people are starting to use some of those tools where it's like if we can create an environment where we can give guys a shared vision, a shared purpose, and we introduce some kind of like challenge or some kind of like maybe manufactured suffering that we can all kind of like persevere through together, like we're really going to create some unity, and it's going to be powerful, and it's going to be memorable, and it's something that starts to create culture. And it's something that like changes guys on an individual level as well.
Yeah. Mission, misery, and margin. 3 M's. Did Kibi come up with that?
I don't know. Maybe. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it seems like if you want to last in ministry for decades, you better be good at alliteration.
Yeah. One-liners.
Yeah, one-liners and alliteration. Brad, we know you have more than that. He doesn't listen to this. It's okay. No, but I really loved how you came in with like grit and strategy and masculine training. And then Dan Demete, also from Damascus, came in the afternoon with the heart, which is outward-facing service and self-gift, and seeking to encounter the other and to encounter Christ in the other as the heartbeat of it all, lest we become insular. And then Brad really wove those together. Something he said stuck out, which is, if I know what I'm for but not what I'm against, then I'm a universalist. I'm paraphrasing here, but I think you would agree with all of this phrasing. And if I know what I'm against but not what I'm for, then I become a fearful tribalist. But if I know both, then I'm on a kingdom mission, is the gist of it. And so what he summed that up with, I remember this alliterative takeaway, fittingly enough, was you want both, it was challenge and another C, not comfort, but he's going to be screaming if he's listening to this. Acceptance, basically. You want to be challenged and accepted at the same time. And the other C word will come to me later. But you want
chosen.
Both of those. Thank you. Challenged and chosen. Thank you. Yes, because a son is both, right? A slave is challenged but not chosen. A pet is chosen but not challenged. But a son is given both. And when we can offer men both of those things in a weekend together, like both identity and activation, then magic happens. And I think the first tone shift we saw was Friday night water polo, before there was any content. And the second one, I think, was after your talk, the activation for your talk, which was a classic Mike Pauzé 3-part workout series. I think my favorite was the water in the mouth. Yeah. And then you have to what was that? You have to, what would you have us do? I forget.
So I don't know where this comes from originally, but it's a little bit of a mind game because you take a drink of water, but you have to hold it in your mouth so you can't breathe through your mouth. And then we did some jumping jacks, which, I mean, jumping jacks on their face, it just kind of seems like a joke. But once you start to go for a little bit and your heart rate gets up and you can't breathe through your mouth, your mind starts to get a little bit panicked. And then we did Beck's burpees, like the burpee broad jump combo across the field. And then at the end, so if you push through the burpees, by the time you're done, like your resting heart rate is now elevated. And you still have the water in your mouth. So even though you're done, you're still kind of fighting the urge to get rid of the water. And then we all as a group just spit the water out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And, it was pretty obvious shortly after meeting me that I'm an ideas guy first, and then I live it out. Most guys, I think, are not. I think most guys are do practice it first, and then it like puts the neurons together to see the pattern at a higher resolution. So what you just said was, and summarized, was that the activation, like the manufactured suffering and challenge together, is team forming because it forces those neurons of collaboration to connect. Mm-hmm. Whereas I might see like, I can envision like the 50-year plan. Sometimes it's hard for me to communicate it and then to show other men how to live into it, which is why I think an activation that starts with the physical is so key for men. Mm-hmm. And that ties into a dream that you've had for a while now, which is to take guys on like adventure trips.
You could call it that, I guess. I don't know if I'd call it that.
What would you?
But they're like, I guess saying like initiation trips doesn't really sound any better. But basically, I don't know, I've just had this thought for a while that something that a lot of young guys are looking for is they want to be initiated, they want to be challenged, and they want to rise to the occasion. And there used to be kind of a way that was done naturally in our society. There was all kinds of rites of passage for young guys as they entered adult life. And there's really it's not present in the same way anymore. And so a lot of guys enter their adult life and they still feel like they haven't been initiated into like real masculine adult life yet. And so something is lacking. And I was blessed enough to experience like the freedom that comes with that sort of rite of passage when I was in the military, and just the way that kind of like unlocked a part of my brain that I didn't really even know existed. And I wanted other men, like I want other men to experience that freedom. And I also think it's necessary for what God like is going to ask of us in our vocations, in our lives. And I think uninitiated men are going to be really hard for God to reach. And it's going to be hard for them to respond adequately to the call that God has for them, whatever that may be. And so just providing an avenue for men to go and do something really difficult together and be kind of guided through that and to come out like victorious on the other side and like return home with like a new sense of confidence, a new sense of competency, maybe even like a sense of purpose they didn't have, and just the ability to like take on risk, adversity, difficult tasks, like more capacity, and sort of just have like this perspective shift. And not to say that you could do all of that maybe in one trip, but like it definitely would move the needle in the right direction.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. One of the closest examples I can think of is John Bradford's ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Have you done a wilderness outreach trip before?
No, I haven't, but I'm familiar with what it is.
Yeah, this is very experiential. He chooses work because he thinks physical labor together is required. Mm-hmm. I could see it. I think the main thing is something difficult overcome together, even if the difficulty is just the experience.
It's that, but I think higher level, it's like you're getting people into the unknown. Mm-hmm. You're getting people out of what they know. And so you can do that in a number of different ways. Some of that is like with the location. So you take them away from their home, whether you go like backpacking out in the mountains or whether you go to some foreign country to do service work, whatever the case may be, it's like where this is going to take place is somewhere that you're not familiar with. The second thing is like they don't have any control of the environment. They're basically surrendering to like whatever is on the docket for that trip or that service work or whatever it is. And the third thing is you introduce like some level of like stress. So whether that's we're going backpacking in Wyoming and we're going to like climb one of the highest peaks and there's some risk involved and it's not easy. But you have to like, you're going to get put into a position where you have to like, you kind of have to figure out how to get through it. You have to figure out how to push through it, but you're doing it with other men. And there's someone there that like has done it before and can help guide you through it. And they're not going to hold your hand, but like they're going to assure you that like you can do it. And so this idea of going into the unknown and being okay with that and being willing to do it is something men need to understand and they need to like get used to doing, because that is the pattern of our lives. That is the pattern of our vocations. And it's something we're going to be asked to do continually. And if any time we encounter the unknown or we encounter risk and adversity, if our default response to that is to try to find a way out of it, we're really going to miss the mark. And so teaching young men to like venture into that is really important and very necessary. And I mean, we see Jesus, like, I mean, he asks Peter to step out of the boat. And I think that's just kind of like symbolic of this whole idea. It's like, this is where I want to meet you, is in the unknown, in the uncertain, in the place where you don't have control, but I do. And you have to trust me, and you have to come out of the boat, out of what you know, out of your comfortability, into the chaos, into like the arena, so to speak. And like, that's where like I'll be waiting for you.
Yeah. One of my favorite one-liners from your talk yesterday was, everything good that you want is on the other side of uncertainty. Risk. Boldness. Even fearful boldness. Like, do it scared if you have to do it scared, but do it. Do the thing. And then the other thing you said that really stuck out was, don't go off alone. Don't think that you can lone wolf this. I mean, you know me, I'm all about that, the brotherhood ethos for that reason, because you get picked off alone.
Yeah.
There's no way to make that a successful venture. And so many men in our society now are isolated because they don't have a band of brothers and they don't understand how to commit to a band of brothers. So they might view friendship as necessary. They might know themselves to be isolated, but if they see friendship as primarily something which makes me feel good or is emotionally satisfying to me, then as soon as it becomes uncomfortable, they'll back away. It's a consumer product. It's not a commitment. But if they see brotherhood and fraternity in the body of Christ as missional and outward-facing and magnanimous, generous, first within the group and then the group pointing to something beyond the group, then that's something worth committing to. And a couple guys gave testimonies at the end of the retreat this morning, which was really cool, talking about how that missional brotherhood and the trust within that group was enabling them to drop some old sins and to be able to find real freedom there. That God frees us through the witness and the accountability and the encouragement of the men around us. Oftentimes, like, faith is not a solo sport, and you need guys to help call, like, spot you. Basically, you wouldn't try to lift heavy at the gym without a spotter. Why would you try to lift heavy in the spiritual arena without spiritual spotters? Same principle.
Yeah.
Same principle. Something that we've talked about frequently recently is once you have a successful program like the arena that taps into something that men really want and resonate with, identity, mission, fraternity, kind of the big three for the arena. Once you've tapped into that, how do you keep it from being just a program? Like, how do you not get stuck in this American shallowness of everyone in America knows that they can and should show up to a program. Nobody in America knows they should show up to build a culture, because that requires a kind of generational rootedness and plantedness that's inconvenient. Because America is really good at presenting you with options of stuff out there that's more appealing looking than what you're doing already. Flashier friends, more attractive potential spouses, better looking homes, better looking jobs, better looking cities. It's all about appealing to desire of consumption or status maximization that leads you to be mobile as opposed to planted. You can even see this in people going away to college. Like, the whole idea of leaving my community, going to college and never coming back because the jobs are elsewhere, that would have been unthinkable 100 years ago for most people. Like, no, you come back where the multi-generational legacy is strong, because that's both physical, geographical, communal, spiritual. Like, it's everything. There's not these siloed buckets of life. It's one life. You just live into it in all these different ways. And so sometimes what I see in the Protestant and Catholic spaces is we know how to build a program that points to the potential for a great magnanimous life, but we have a hard time stopping people from, like, getting bored halfway through. Or if they stay, they don't know They can't identify all the silos that they have to break down and kind of pull back together. So something I appreciated about the way that you lived your life when you were in Columbus, and I know you still do in Pittsburgh, is you don't have silos. You were able to call me from the time that we met. You were able to call me into community and into self-challenge and self-mastery at the same time. It was almost the same call for you. It's like you wanted to see excellence grow in me as your brother in all ways. And there was a part of me that was just yearning for that kind of challenge, and so I responded. I probably wouldn't have become Catholic without that. And you didn't have to think of yourself as doing it and like, oh, remember to challenge John today. It was just you were moving, and you liked the direction that you were moving in, and you were willing to have guys come alongside that, and you were always calling potential guys to say, are you going to join me in this direction, this adventure? And that's pretty rare. So I wanted to say, like, first of all, thank you, because you unlocked that kind of self-challenge in me that I was waiting for some guy to call out of me and walk alongside me and help me practice it. I think I spent 3.5 years out in San Diego. The whole time I lived out there, I was waiting for a guy like that. And I had a couple that kind of did it in a couple different ways, and I'm thankful for them. But what I noticed when I came to Columbus is that you were able to do that in a lot of different ways at once. So the conversations we had ranged from the intellectual to the spiritual to the political to the social to the communal to the idea of even we flipped a house together, after like a year of knowing each other. Mm-hmm. And we only had the trust to do that project because you had challenged me. Do you remember the first thing you challenged me to do?
Do a Spartan race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did I say?
I don't think you wanted to at first.
I did not.
Yeah.
I did not want to do that because I knew it would suck. But it was repeated invitation. And there was a way that you did it that was not just, it was very Mike. There was a way that you gave the invitation that was repeated and challenging, but also choosing. You made me feel chosen and challenged at the same time. Mm. And so it was just an image of how Christ would approach a brother. Like, get out of the boat was the call that I heard, but it didn't sound condemning. Because if it had, then I probably wouldn't have done it.
Try to keep it lighthearted.
Yeah, you kept it lighthearted.
Yeah.
You kept it light. You did it well. Mm-hmm. Which, that's where I got some of the core memories from that year, which is like hopping the fence at the high school track down the street to carry sandbags at 5 a.m. when it's dark out. It's like you get the good lore drops, from like the adventure. The lore is going to be great from this adventure because there's it's just guys being dudes, but towards a higher purpose. Mm-hmm. That was such a gift.
Yeah. I think a lot of like where I learned how to relate to other men that way is from the Marine Corps, but specifically from like kind of my like recon platoon, because like the entire culture is built like that, where there's a constant like tension, but it is in kind of a, sometimes like a lighthearted or like joking way, but you're always like pushing on each other and you're always challenging each other. And there's sort of it's always this iron sharpens iron effect where everybody is competing with each other all the time. And it's in an effort to like push people to the next level and make each other better. And it ends up becoming kind of a game, and it's fun. And, and there's just a lot of good things that come from it. And a lot of brotherhood gets built that way. And it's a fun culture. And it's a pretty unique culture. And so I really loved that. And that was kind of where my like young adult formation happened, like 18 to 23. And so I think I kind of carried that with me. And for the people who are receptive to it, like I think usually we have a good time. And some people don't really appreciate it, but I think I sort of like poked and prodded a little bit, and you kind of took the bait. And so, we did it. And you were willing to go to the track and jump the fence even after they hung a sign that said, "Don't do that." And,
for us, probably.
I think we had a great time. We had a lot of like great brotherhood that came out of that experience. Yeah. I think we both grew in a lot of ways. Yeah.
How did you grow from that? You could do that in your sleep.
Well, I think that we were coming from very different places, and we were bringing different things to the table. And for me, I had experienced a lot of the challenge and the brotherhood that you were looking for, but you had experienced a lot of the like intellectual life that I was looking for. And so I was really like, my eyes were opened to a lot of ideas and kind of a world that I was generally unaware of in terms of like what lens to look at the world through, how to start noticing like all of the symbolism around us and all of the patterns taking place and how they work together and how life is so integrated. And there was just a deepening of the way that I started to think that was a result of our like very many long and drawn out conversations. But in a lot of ways, like that really changed my life because the way you think about things is incredibly important. And the way you look at the world is kind of like a lot of things are downstream from that. And so that was an extremely impactful time for me because of the way that you influenced how I think about the world and how I think about symbolism and a lot of like deeper layers and levels of like thinking and sort of just this idea of like the intellectual life.
Wow. Thanks, man. Yeah, that means a lot. That friendship trade has been one of my favorite trades, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Both of us came out better. Yeah. Spartan race, house flip, conversion to Catholicism, working for SPO. Like it's been it's been an accelerating series of yeses. Because each yes unlocks the potential for another yes.
Yeah.
Each push, as you say, unlocks the potential for the next push. And that's a joyful process, even though it sucks at times. Like it's stretching. But I think that's what the Marines taught you is that you can see, embrace the suck. You know, it's been hurt a lot, but you guys do it. You actually push each other in fun, even though it's going to cause pain, because you know the pain is going to produce growth. And it becomes like a game to see who can push each other the most and who can kind of grow the capacity of the group the most. It's such a cool idea. It works. It works fast. Like the guys can bond like crazy when they're in that pressure cooker together. And then when they know how to make the culture point upward, not downward, like to point it not towards sarcasm and backbiting, kind of looking for a guy to slip so they can yank him down. But if they can push it towards calling out the better and the good, like, no, you're actually better than that. And what if we pushed into this space of discomfort because I want to see you stronger. And I want to see you sharper, and I want to see you more free, and I want to see you take on your identity as God's son and get in the arena of your life. That's a potent men's culture. That lasts.
Yep.
And if you can figure out how to make that multi-generational from father to son, then we can start to link up the fragmented, frayed bonds between generations. Because one of the greatest successes of Satan in this country was turning the fathers against the sons and the sons against the fathers, to break that thread of generational continuity and legacy. There's no sense of a handed-on culture because there's no sense of an inherited anything. Everything's up for grabs with every new generation. And the young are taught to despise the old are taught to devalue the young. Like it's a total inversion of God's plan. God desires good things for his sons and fatherhood for his sons and something that endures. And you can see that now as you raise your boys, that you get to pass this on not just to the brothers around you, but now God's made you a father. You get to set the family culture. You get to set the family legacy of these future men. And I'm sure, I know because you've said and you live it out, you want them to be twice the man that you are. And you get to be able to be the one that sets the frame to, God willing, help them get there, which must be an incredible joy and an incredible like potential burden that you have to hand over to him because of the stress of that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think any like burden or stress that comes with fatherhood, I think is just so like heavily outweighed by like the joy of it. I think people probably like, maybe you get a little bit of like the eye roll reaction when people say that like, oh, like my kids are the greatest joy in my life, or being a father is the best thing that's ever happened to me, because it's so overused, or maybe you hear it a lot, but like it really is true, for me at least. And, yeah, I think I do understand like how consequential my role is in their lives. And there is like some heaviness that comes with that, but it is such an absolute gift, and I really do love it a lot. And I'm excited by the ideas that I have and like how I can like introduce these concepts to them, how I can like walk with them and like challenge them like as they're able to handle it, and sort of like talk through these concepts with them. And it truly is a gift, and it's a joy, and I'm really enjoying like every moment of it. And yeah, we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun in our house.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you tell the story real quick about Levi at the park recently?
Yeah. So Levi, a lot of things I do with him, I want him to be an initiator. I want him to be a leader. And in a lot of the same ways that I think there are certain lessons that young men need to learn, I can take kind of scaled down versions of those things and introduce them to a 5-year-old. And so I'm sort of trying to create some context so people don't think I'm crazy. So like I will try to allow Levi to problem solve, and I will let him get the wrong answer, and then I'll help him readdress it until he can figure something out. And I don't want to do things for him that I know he can do himself. And I want to show him that he is able to do it. And so he'll start to learn, like, when I encounter an issue, like I reattack it until I figure it out. And I can watch him do that, and I can kind of start collecting little data points that he's picking it up and that he starts to understand that. And so similarly to that, like I will try to let him like take the lead on certain things that we do together, because I want to show him like you can be an initiator, you can lead, and you can make decisions, and I'll follow your lead. Like, show me what you want to do. Like, we're going to like build something, and I want you to tell me what you want to do, and I want you to explain to me how we should do it, and then we'll do it together. And so I let him like take the lead. And so all that to say, there was kind of a funny story where we went to a winery, and there was like a large, probably like a 10-acre outdoor area, maybe 5, I don't know. But there was a creek running through it, and there was maybe 150 or 200 people kind of all hanging out outside, and there's all these kids running around. And my boys had taken their shoes off and were down in the creek playing with these other kids. And I kind of let them go do that. And after a while, I walk over to check in, and one of these other parents is down there watching them. And he's like, "Hey, is that your son?" And it was Levi, and I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Well, he was just over here like leading all these kids in a workout." And I was like, "That's a little wild."
That's my boy.
But yeah, and it's not even like I like taught him how to do that.
No, he just saw you.
Like he sees me exercise, and he will ask me about it, and he'll ask me to teach him different like exercise movements. And so I think the combination of him like doing those things with me, and then sort of this like activation of me like trying to teach him to be an initiator, he sort of put those two things together. And now you have at the time a 4-year-old who's like doing push-ups and burpees by the creek with these other kids. So
That's so
it's
cool,
pretty
man.
funny.
That's so cool. Man, you have a full life. Moved to Pittsburgh about a year ago, full-time contractor, busy family, 3 kids, engaged in community, coming down to run a men's retreat with me this past weekend. Gonna go home and hit it Monday. What's a day in the life of Mike look like? Like, what keeps you sharp in the routine? What keeps you focused and on mission?
I think just kind of like the understanding that I have to be like the engine that makes my family go. And so the engine just has to keep running. And so on the days where maybe you don't have sort of like the natural motivation, or you don't really feel like doing it, it's like, well, you know what, like I have to do what needs to be done. Like, this is my responsibility. It has to happen, and I'm the one to do it. And typically that's good enough for me. And it's not maybe the most like, man,
Fluffy.
it doesn't, that's not like the flashy answer.
Yeah.
But it's just reality. And like the reality of like my vocation and my role is like, I have a set of responsibilities. I have to be a provider. I have to make an income. And so there are ways I have to order my life to make the pieces fit together. And sometimes that's a stretch, but that's okay because like it's a full life, but it's a good life. And it's the life I've been called to live. And so even on the days maybe when like the natural motivation isn't there, like it's like, this is what I'm called to do and I'm going to do it. And it's because it needs to be done.
That really stood out to me when we were working on that first house together. And there was one moment, I think we were 6 or 8 months into the process, and I showed up in the morning to check on something, and you were there working. I was like, oh, what are you doing here? It's like, I was here all night. What? It's like, I think we were working on the kitchen backsplash. I was like, what are you going to do now, man? Go home and rest? No, I'm going to my job. What are you going to do tonight? I'm going to go preside over my family. Like, dang.
I doubt I said that word.
You'd never be so cringe as to be that on brand for SPO. But the heart was there. A pretty accurate paraphrase.
Yeah, I think, well, on that night specifically, I think I actually just got really like upset at myself because like I had a plan for how I wanted that activity to go and it sort of fell apart. And so my choice was like, well, I can just leave this like in shambles the way that it is right now, or I can just kind of get through this and have it be done. And so I was like, you know what? We're going to do it. We're just going to do it.
Yeah.
We're going to full send it.
Yeah. Full send. Full send. All in. That was your ending closeout call to us that we did. What do they call it when you gather the guys in for a yell in sports?
Like a breakdown.
Breakdown. Yeah, there it is. That was the breakdown. All in. And by the end of the weekend, like my ears were ringing in the middle of that room from how much the guys meant it. Mm-hmm. Like they came in ready for a good time. Mm-hmm. And I think they left having had an encounter. And that was, man, that's such, can't even find the right words for it. To know that my yes and your yes and the yeses of the half dozen or dozen other men that are core in this team with us made that possible for those 40 other men. That's a pretty good use of a life. Pretty good use of a weekend. Worth being tired for.
And not even like we could have like planned it that way if we wanted to. Like nobody saw that coming. No. What a blessed weekend. So many little audibles, that were called. But that's what you can do when you have a team that sees a vision together. Like that's what you can do with a team of experienced men that have each other's backs. Like you can pull together a world-class retreat with people volunteering their labor. Like Danny, just producing like top-notch food, meal after meal. He wouldn't take payment if I offered it. Crazy that we're surrounded by that kind of caliber of good men. Yeah, that's like the product of, I don't know, 10 to 15 years of like guys sort of laying down their lives and creating a culture around that. And then that starts to ripple outwards. Other people catch the vision. Yeah. They start to replicate it. Yeah. It just grows.
They call that in business, they call that a 20-year overnight success. Because only a generation later is the fruit visible after the roots were just dug deep and fertilized year after year. Crazy that we get to inherit that, and in my capacity, I get to inherit this thing that's moving and then just put more oxygen on it with my yes. In your case, you're going to plow new ground in Pittsburgh, but I have no doubt that you're going to find and draw together the same team, or not the same team, but the same kind of team. I think with your initiation trips idea, which should definitely happen in the next year, and just the way that you preside over your household, you're going to draw guys probably in like 20s to like 40s is probably going to be, you're going to be able to draw guys up and down from your age bracket. And that's going to be really cool to see. So as you go back to Pittsburgh, I'll be praying for you that God begins to draw those men out of the woodwork, just like he drew me out of the woodwork, in Reynoldsburg in 2021, right before Easter. But
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. And I think, like we were talking about earlier, it's been really interesting to have this kind of new like reset in my life, where after being established and being part of such a robust community for almost a decade, kind of restarting somewhere else. And it's kind of a strange feeling, but at the same time, there's a lot of excitement because I know that what my job is to be open and to be receptive and to allow myself to be an instrument of the Holy Spirit. And if I'm doing that, like he'll move the weight. And so the temptation can be for me to try to like scheme and plan and like grasp for control of like what I think the vision or the direction is. But I think if I can hold on loosely and I can just surrender, I think he'll show up. And I'm excited for what that'll look like.
Me too, man. Can I pray with you real quick as we close?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, it's been such a joy to be Mike's brother in the same shared mission, same shared culture for the past coming up 5 years. And it sucks from my perspective, for me, that he's in Pittsburgh and not Columbus. But I know that you've sent him there for an incredible purpose, and that you are building through him and will continue to build a men's culture that will change that city, just as you used him to build a men's culture that changed Columbus. And so, Lord, I choose to trust that even though I miss him a lot and wish he was in Columbus, your plan is better, and that you're calling him into a fresh adventure, a fresh reset, and that you're going to bless it. So, Lord, I pray for Mike that you would encourage him, give him grace and peace and excitement for the journey and the reset, and that you would begin to draw the men around him, that he would just be providentially open to the providential encounter, that you would begin to draw men to him, into his life, that he would then run with for the next decade, the next generation. Thank you for the way he lives his life. Thank you for the impact he's had on me and on so many. And thank you for his generosity and his yes to give a costly weekend and go back home tired for the sake of the mission of bringing the gospel to fully impact the lives of the men of Columbus. It's been an honor. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.